What's up, everyone, and welcome to Conscious Health Podcast. I'm your host, health coach, and author, TJ. And today I want to go over flexible dieting and how we can actually learn to enjoy food, but also lose weight. For those of us who need to lose a few extra pounds, we want to maybe want to just be healthier, maybe want to feel healthier, maybe want to look better, whatever the case may be. You want to lose weight, you want to lose some body fat, and in order to do that, there's some steps that we're going to have to follow. And of course, it's going to take consistency and discipline and all these other things that aren't as fun to talk about sometimes. But on top of that, it can also be made in a way that can be made a little more comfortable, because something that is important to know when it comes to eating or dieting or doing things in order to have an end goal to lose some weight. Something that's good to remember with that is that if we do it too difficult, if we do it too hard, we push our body too much, then we're just going to bounce right back. This is called yo-yo dieting. When you do, for example, let's say you're not used to the keto diet, but you just heard of it, and you go from eating a ton of carbs, eating no carbs, you're all gung-ho into keto. You do it, and this is not me dissing keto in any way, just my example. But let's say you just go right into keto for a few weeks, you lose amazing weight, you feel wonderful, but it's super difficult, and you bounce right back to however you're eating before that. And then you're going to gain all the way back and potentially even more, because now your body has a different set rate at how it metabolizes, at how it burns extra energy. And so we don't want to put our bodies into survival mode with a hardcore diet and then just have our body revert back to putting on weight and putting on more to prepare for a famine through its survival mechanisms. And so in order to have something sustainable, we want to have a diet or a way of eating that can be flexible around our likes and dislikes. So for example, I like to eat pizza. Of course, does that mean that I eat pizza every single meal? Does it mean I even eat pizza even every day or even every single week? No. But it does mean that I incorporate into my diet. And today we're going to talk about how to incorporate your favorite foods, whether it's candy, pizza, whatever it is. And I'm really excited for this. I'm reading a book. I highly recommend it to people. It's called Fat Loss Forever by Lane Norton. I believe there's a co-author. I don't remember his name, but Lane Norton is wonderful. And he is the one who actually inspired me to go ahead and make this. And so I highly recommend that people go and check out that book, Fat Loss Forever. And as someone who's been a personal trainer for the past 5 years, this stuff really, it can be complicated as far as applying it to your life. But I think this information needs to be more available to people so they can not only lose weight, but you can also have a somewhat good time actually doing it and still eat your favorite foods and not feel like you just have to cut out really any food. You can still incorporate foods right into it, and how we're going to do that. First off, we're going to talk about some mindset changes, because this is very important. We don't want to push anything that could be seen as an eating disorder. We don't want you, I don't want you to hate food. I don't want you to even necessarily label food. I want you to see all food as energy. Food really is exactly that. It gives you energy, even if it is candy, even if it is sugar, whatever the food is. I'm not saying that all food is the best for you and it's all going to be high quality, but all food is energy. If you were starving and you really needed food, then yeah, in that case, you're going to have to eat some candy or something that is considered unhealthy in order to just survive. So off the bat, see all food as energy, because it really is. And all food is measured in calories. Calories is a unit of measurement that is used to measure the thermic effect of food and how much energy it's going to go ahead and release into your body. And so that's why knowing calories is so important. We're going to get into tracking calories here in a second. It's also good to have the mindset of balance. So balancing your foods that lack nutrients with nutrient dense foods. So for example, I was talking about pizza earlier. I think pizza is a good example because most people that are going to be watching this have eaten pizza or like pizza, whatever. So if you're going to balance out pizza in your day, right? Let's use me as an example. I don't eat pizza every single day, even though I like it. So I eat pizza maybe once every 2 weeks. Let's say that you like to eat pizza more than I do, and you still want to eat it, because we know that if, like I said earlier with yo-yo dieting, if you just cut it out, if you completely say, I'm not going to eat pizza at all, then that's already going to start your mind being like, oh, now I crave it because now I'm telling myself I don't want it. Now it's something I can't have. And so now I want it even more. So instead of telling yourself you can't have a certain food, you're going to say, look, I can have that certain food, but we're going to put it off for a little bit while I eat some nutrient dense food. So, for example, if I'm going to eat pizza, then I could eat 2 slices for lunchtime, let's say. But breakfast time, I've eaten eggs and avocado toast, or eggs and berries. And at dinner time, I eat a chicken Caesar salad. And so it's all about balance. It's all about, yeah, seeing all food as energy, but not all food is created equally in the sense that's going to be nutrient dense. So it's all about the concept of balance. Another example we can use ice cream. A lot of people like ice cream. I like ice cream, but I don't eat it every day. I eat ice cream, maybe one serving ice cream, maybe once a week. And I'll typically have ice cream, and then sometimes I'll even use the sugar itself as a pre-workout, and I'll eat it, get sugared up, and then go work out at the gym. So it's all about balance. It's all about picking times where not only that that food that lacks nutrients is going to be used as an energy of some sort for your body. So see all food as energy and work on balancing it out. Those are some of the biggest mindsets that are good to incorporate to go ahead and to actually start to be a little more comfortable with going into a caloric deficit and being able to actually lose the body fat that you're wanting to lose. So first off, we want to find out your maintenance calories. What is your caloric intake going to be just to be able to maintain your weight right now? And before we do that, we need to find out what's called your basal metabolic rate. So your basal metabolic rate is the minimum energy that is required to sustain your life at rest. So we need to figure that out. We're going to do this with a formula. I'll make sure to either put this formula up right now on the screen, and I can even put it on the description of this podcast and or video, depending on how you're consuming this right now. So we're going to use this formula like I have used for many clients, and I've seen it work its wonders. Just realize that this formula is an estimation, just like any other formula you're ever going to find on Google or ChatGPT or whatever. They're all going to be estimations. Same with calorie counting. Calorie counting could be as well as 25% off. Same with even tracking your weight or your muscle mass or your body fat. All these things I'm talking about are estimations, but don't get too hung up on the fact that it's not perfect. Because really, as long as we're just consistent with how we do it, as long as we do it the same way, as long as we track our progress the same way, as long as we are counting the calories with the same app every day, or however you're going to track everything, just realize that the important thing is consistency, because these things could be slightly inaccurate, but you're going to still see results as long as you're doing things consistently and with the right mindset, realizing these things are tools to help you. Anyway, so the formula we're going to use is called the Harris-Benedict formula. This is one I've used with many people, including myself. So for men, this formula finds our basal metabolic rate. For men, this would be 66.5 plus, in parentheses, 13.75, multiplied by your weight in kilograms plus 5.003 times your height in centimeters. And then we're going to subtract 6.75 multiplied by your age. This is for men. And then for women, your basal metabolic rate would be determined by 655.1 plus 9.563 times your weight in kilograms plus 1.850 times your height in centimeters, subtracted by 4.676 multiplied by your age. And I'm just going and spelling it all out for those of you that are listening. That way you can either go back and write this down or however you want to do this. So this formula is going to have slightly different numbers for men and women, so that'll be important to notice here if you're writing it down or if you're going to use this formula. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that to find your basal metabolic rate. Then we're going to multiply an activity rate here. So there's different activity rates that we're multiplied by. So let's say you're sedentary. Let's say you do little or no exercise. You're at a desk job with minimal movement. You just don't move much. So we'd multiply our basal metabolic rate by 1.2 if you're in the sedentary category. Then for a lightly active category, we would be multiplying your basal metabolic rate by 1.375. So lightly active would be light exercise or sports 1 to 3 days per week. And then if you're in the moderately active category, you'd be multiplying by 1.55, Moderately active means in this context, moderate exercise or sports 3 to 5 days a week. Then very active would be 1.725. This would be hard exercise or sports 6 to 7 days a week. And then extra active, you're multiplying your basal metabolic rate by 1.9. This would be very hard exercise, a physical job, and or training twice per day. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to multiply what you got from the Harris-Benedict formula with one of these categories. So for example, I would determine basal metabolic rate, and then I would go ahead and multiply it by 1.725. Since I work out, I have a moderately active job. And so this would determine my maintenance calories, which for me would be 3,477. So now that I have my maintenance calories figured out, this is a really good start, because then if I want to, and before I go farther into this, it's important that we lose weight or lose body fat slower, because this is all about sustainability. This isn't, and this is also another good mindset to realize here too, is that this isn't just about losing it quick so I can look better or whatever. This video podcast is not about that. And if that's what you're looking for, you might as well just stop listening, because it's all about sustainability. It's all about lifestyle change. It's all about losing the body fat and not regaining it. It's about losing the body fat, becoming aware of calories, so you can use these tools for the rest of your life. So since we have determined my maintenance calories now we can go ahead and, oh, actually, before I get into that, there's also another method we could try called the multiplier method. This is one I actually just found today. So if you don't want to do the Harris-Benedict formula for whatever reason, you can do the multiplier method. I just found it online. I did it for myself, and it's actually pretty similar to the Harris-Benedict formula. I'm just used to doing the Harris-Benedict formula because it's a little older. But the multiplier method also works well. So for the multiplier method, you're going to go ahead, and if you're sedentary, you would multiply your weight in pounds by 13 or 14, 13 to 14. If you're moderately active, you'd multiply your weight by 15 or 16. And then if you're very active, multiply your weight by 17 to 18. So what I did for this is, right now I'm 189 pounds. I'm very active. And so my maintenance calories, according to this method, is 3,213. So a little less than what the Harris-Benedict formula gave me. And so you can choose whichever one of these. Both are really not too difficult. Multiplier method obviously is quicker. So whatever's most comfortable for you. And so now that we know our maintenance calories, we can go ahead and we can tweak that. So let's say you get to your maintenance calories and you just want to eat comfortably at that. You start tracking your calories. I recommend MyFitnessPal, because MyFitnessPal, even the free version, gives you a lot. A really big bang for your buck, because you don't pay any, and you can still lick your macros and your calories and put in everything you use every day, and you still don't have to pay anything. I'm sure the paid version though is a lot nicer and will have a lot more ways of seeing how your food fits into your different macros. We're going to talk about macros in a second if you don't know what that is. But you can use, I'm sure there's a ton of apps out there that you can use for free. I just know MyFitnessPal. That's what I've recommended to clients, and that's what I've seen work for people. So anyway, so if you're using MyFitnessPal to go ahead and track your calories, let's say you eat at maintenance for a week, just get comfortable, just get used to tracking calories, because yes, it is tedious. It will take some time, but again, if you really want to lose the body fat, this is one of the best ways, one of the surefire ways you can do it, to go ahead and build caloric awareness. I also realize you don't necessarily have to track calories forever. Some people, like the author of the book that I was talking about, he recommends you track forever. You can do that if you really want to be on point. For me, I'll do it for at most a few months, just to build awareness, to see where I'm at, and then I can start to tweak it from there. But at the very least, you're going to have to start by doing this to build caloric awareness, to be able to track and see how the calories affects your body going in, and how you're going to best behave in order to lose the body fat. And so calorie tracking is very, very important. So let's say you start to track your calories for a few weeks. You start to know what your maintenance caloric intake is like. For example, for me, it would be hitting that 3,400 or so, anywhere from 3,200, 3,400 calories a day. I get comfortable doing that. Then if I wanted to lose a few pounds of body weight, I would slowly start to eat a little less. And so you can tweak this on MyFitnessPal for whatever your goal is for losing weight. More specifically, losing body fat, because we don't want to lose muscle necessarily or lean body mass. which is organs, tissues, whatnot. We don't lose that. We want to lose body fat. That's what we're talking about here. And so if you want to start watching the body fat fall off, you would start to eat a little less calories. And then our other variable that we can change is, of course, exercise. I don't want to go too much into exercise on this video because we're mainly looking at nutrition, but I have a lot of videos about different workouts you can do. And I also have a book called How to Maximize Muscle Mass and Testosterone Levels out on Amazon. I'll have the link in the show notes for the description, so you guys can check that out. It's super affordable, less than $10. And it's honestly probably 75% of everything I learned as a trainer and from teaching people all put into a book. So this would be information that many other trainers would probably charge an arm and a leg for, and I'm just putting it all in the book for you. Has everything shy of showing you how to actually perform a deadlift or a bench press or different exercises, because it wouldn't be wise to learn that from a book. So anyway, so that book is available to you. You can use that to learn how to exercise. But exercise is one of those levers, one of these variables in this process here that we can change to burn more calories per day. So that way we can get away with maybe eating a little more of our favorite foods. And we can go ahead and have our phone track that on MyFitnessPal. You just keep your phone in your pocket. Then you run around. Of course, it's not going to be super great estimating when it comes to movement, but just know that the more you exercise, of course, the more calories you're going to be able to fit into your daily intake. And the more you can get away with eating the foods that are not as nutrient dense. And so you can go ahead and do that. That is a lever you can pull. And so now that we know all of this, we know about tracking calories and we know about exercise, that we can use that to our advantage. So now that we have all this knowledge that we can use to our advantage to go ahead and lose body fat, then we can also start to track macros. What's a macronutrient? Macronutrient is very basic, just your protein, fats, and your carbs. Protein is good for building, maintaining muscle. Fats are good for your hormonal levels. And carbs is good for just basic energy, having glucose in your body. And all this might not apply if you're liking a ketogenic diet or maybe I don't know, whatever other diets are out there. That maybe it's either very low carb or no carbs at all. So this doesn't all necessarily apply to you, but all three macros are very important. And the way I've taught people is to use all those macros to your advantage. So on MyFitnessPal, it will tell you your macros. And I believe that if you have the paid version, then it will go into more detail which foods has your macros. And also for macronutrients, you can also just look on the nutrition label. Looking at nutrition labels is highly effective in just building awareness of food and how that different energy is metabolized. My book, How to Maximize Muscle Mass and Testosterone Levels, also goes more in depth on macronutrients. And of course, now you can look on ChatGPT or Google or whatever. You can learn a lot really quickly about macronutrients and how those different nutrients affect your body. But it is important to know basic information about macronutrients. For example, I would recommend high protein diets. High protein diets are helpful because protein helps you to build and sustain muscle mass. And muscle mass itself actually helps you to burn more calories and to have a higher metabolism. And of course, you're going to feel better having more muscle mass. You're going to be able to lift more, be more helpful around the house or at work. You'll look better. And so muscle mass is very helpful in a lot of different ways. And it's very important to have that. It's going to increase longevity, increase your quality of life. So it's really good to have a high protein diet and to just play around with those other two macros. Maybe you like more high carb foods than high fat, or vice versa, you like more high fat foods than high carb foods. You may like to eat a lot of avocados all day, but you don't like to eat crackers as much, or I don't know, whatever it is. So you just tweak and play around with your macronutrients based on what you like the most. And of course, with your calories and macros, you make time and open up a window for your pizza, for your ice cream, for whatever it is, as long as it fits into your macronutrient and caloric intake. And so, like I said, MyFitnessPal, at least last time I checked, it will still tell your macros on the free version, but it will go into more detail on the paid version. So now that we know this, how do we track our progress if we're doing all this and maybe we can't see as well physically in the mirror every day if anything's happening? We can go ahead and we can actually look at our muscle mass and our body fat for a really affordable price. And with all the things I mentioned here, I don't have any paid affiliation. I just have certain things that I have recommended clients and I use myself that have worked really well. So you can get the Renfo scale. I'll have the link for this in the description below as well. You can get the Renfo scale on Amazon The Renpho scale is actually a smart scale. Last I checked, it was $30 on Amazon, and it actually will tell your muscle mass and your body fat. And so it's really important that we're not just using a basic scale that just tells you a one number, 150 pounds or whatever, because you don't know what is actually happening. If you're, so muscle mass is more dense than fat. So let's say that you're actually losing body fat and you're putting on muscle, then you could actually gain a pound or two. But if you just look at a regular scale that just says number, you don't know what's going on. So it's very important to have something like a smart scale or some way to be able to tell what is actually muscle mass and body fat within your body. And so that way you're actually able to say, oh, hey, this actually worked. I still ate pizza the other day or my ice cream or whatever. I fit in my caloric intake, my caloric deficit, and I was still able to lose this body fat. And it's all about playing around with your calories and getting into a caloric deficit and getting low enough that it's not so low that you're just hating life and you're super hungry all the time and it just sucks. But you want to get into a caloric deficit that's just enough that you are seeing results. Yes, it's going to take some discipline. I wouldn't necessarily say it sucks, not all the time anyway, but there'll be times when, yes, it'll definitely be hard. But you got to stay disciplined, stay consistent, stay at a caloric deficit, meaning that you're intaking calories below your maintenance, so you're able to leave off that body fat. And then on the scale, as you do this, as you stay consistent, as you exercise, as you do all these things to burn calories, then you're going to start to see results. And to track these results, you need to be consistent with weighing yourself on the smart scale. So for example, every time I weigh myself, I do it weekly on Saturdays in the morning, right after I wake up or right after I use the restroom and before I eat breakfast. Because of course, if I hold in my urine, poop, whatever, then my weight's going to be different than it would if I emptied everything out. So you want to go and empty everything out, but also don't ingest anything so it doesn't throw off the scale. Because yes, it is not going to be 100% accurate, but one, to be as accurate as possible to see the best results. Also, if we change the variables of each day that we take our weight, then of course it's going to be off. Our water weight will be different. If we do it at a different time, then we're going to have more food or less food in our body. So we want to be consistent with the things that we can keep the same when we weigh ourselves. So let's say you want to weigh yourself every single morning. So you want to see what's going on. And let's say you're mentally, you can handle that. It's not going to cause you to be obsessed. It's not going to cause you to be super depressed if you can weigh yourself every day. So you go ahead and weigh yourself every day, but you have to do the same, at least around the same time, but with the same variables as I was talking about. So lastly, or almost lastly here, I got a few more things. Something I've always taught clients is no cheat days, only cheat meals, because in a single day, you can pound a lot of calories and you can gain weight. You can gain weight really fast in a single day. And honestly, you can even gain weight in a single meal if you really eat enough. But typically when we have a singular meal, a singular cheat meal, we're not going to gain either as much, or even if at all, if we're really careful about it and we're consistent with our caloric intake, staying in caloric deficit. It's all about energy balance, maintaining the energy balance to be a caloric deficit. So just remember, no cheat days, only cheat meals. And that's something that I do. That's something I've taught others, and it's been very helpful. So now that we have all this information, we can put it all together, use it to our best interest. I have one last mindset to share with you. That is self-love. Love is super important. It's all about doing all this out of love and reminding ourselves that we're being disciplined, we're being consistent because we love ourselves, because we don't want to have to suffer with chronic illness. We don't have to suffer with extra stored energy that's on our bodies that we don't need, that's weighing us down, that's making it harder to breathe, harder to move around, making it less convenient for us when we don't fit through a small corner, a small hallway, whatever it's going to be. We want to do this out of love because we love ourselves. We love the fact that we can do this, that we even have the ability, the higher brain function to be able to play with our energy balance in our bodies. It's an amazing feat that we can do this. And so realize that, yes, it took time for you to put on body fat, and it's also going to take time for you to lose it, but it's going to be well worth it because out of love for your body, for yourself, for your health, you've gone ahead and you've treated your body well with good nutrient foods. You've also treated some things that, yeah, maybe lacking some nutrients, but you had a good time and you enjoyed it, but you also found balance in it. So you're striving to do all this because you love yourself. And love is one of the most powerful things that we know of in the whole universe. And so as long as we're tapped into that, we're doing these things out of self-love because we love ourselves. We want to see ourselves do the best. We're staying disciplined, we're staying consistent. Then it's be well worth it. It's going to be more than just losing a few pounds. That's just the end. That's just an end goal. The continuous improvements that we want to see can come out of self-love, out of an eternal principle. I don't mean to get too spiritual or woo-woo here, but this is something that is very helpful, and I believe this is really the lifelong commitment we make when we're truly healthy with ourselves, because we're also saying we're tapping into something that is super, super helpful for our bodies and our minds. Anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. I hope that you got a lot of good information out of this, and you didn't have to go pay someone $1,000 or a few $100s even to learn all this information. So now you know you can apply these tools to yourself. If you want to know more, you can check out other videos on my YouTube channel. You can also check out my book on Amazon. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll see you.